All right, y'all, you guys know what time it is. We are in the middle of the month. Now I'm in a tank top and a towel because I was gonna go shower, but somebody else is showering and I had nothing else to do. I wasn't actually gonna record today because if you guys don't know, I have I don't want to say something big planned coming for Monday, but I want to say more so you guys will notice like the change in content, if that makes sense, by Monday. So you guys stay tuned for that, subscribe, and like, I hope you guys enjoy those. But we are doing our monthly tier list or not tier list, but like our meta tier list, basically, I guess. So our tier list where we basically go over, you know, the brand new characters, and then obviously like, you know, where they are in meta and stuff like that. So we have Vesti, Aid, and Milk. Obviously when Aid came, or when Vesti came out, I think I ranked Vesti like the day she came out, right? And then I just kind of ranked her off first impression. I've seen a lot more of this character through YouTube videos, of course, because I don't own her myself, and obviously from when I tested her with Overload gear, I was very surprised. So I do want to re-rank her. And then obviously when it comes to Aid and Milk, I want to rank them. So when it comes to Vesti, I'm actually gonna put her in meta, right? And the reason why I'm gonna put her in meta is that she's not really good when it comes to bosses, but the thing about her, she's good everywhere else, in the sense of like, well, I feel like any character is realistically good in low deficit. Like, okay, that's quite the crazy take, but I feel like this character, when it comes to mobs, like she's the best mob clearer in the game, right? And I didn't even know like how crazy she was against mobs until I really did, you know, try her out on my boy's account in campaign, right? Because obviously I don't own her, so the most I could try her out in is shooting range, right? But she's really good, really good when it comes to just like deleting characters or enemies, and it's just because of that true damage, right? Obviously when it comes to true damage and stuff like that, and it's like I said, like when she first came out, right? Between her, Emma, and Yunhua, she is the only character that you don't necessarily need to have Emma and Yunhua. Like I literally said, if I was to use Vesti, if I got her and I was using her, I'd probably just use her on the Monstrous Trio team over Emma and Yunhua, right? The only time I'd ever use her with those two is like if I'm fighting a fire, a stage where fire, being the fire type is like advantage, right? Which I believe is over wind. So that's where I have her, but she's definitely meta, right? I seen a crazy thing recently, and it was like a shorts, I think, or it was a shorts or a YouTube video, I don't remember, I think it was a shorts, but I just seen Vesti, it was a Japanese, I seen Vesti nuke. Like I've never seen her nuke PvP the way I seen her in that showcase. And obviously, like, I'm not gonna lie, that was the only thing I have seen her when it came to PvP. And I already knew that she can hit hard AoE wise, so I knew she was a very powerful character when it came to PvP based off her burst skill. But from what I've seen in that showcase, it was only one showcase. I never actually tried her out myself in PvP, but I am going to say this right now and make a bold claim, and maybe I'm right or maybe I'm wrong. I feel like I'm more right, but I'm going to say that Vesti has to be one of the craziest PvP characters in the game right now, if not the most craziest character in the game right now, right? There was just no other character who was doing what I've seen in that little Japanese showcase, right? So there's that. When it comes to Aid, I feel like Aid is a really great character. I feel like we're gonna see her in that sub-meta tier. My thing is like she's just as good as Grave, right? I feel like when it comes to supporting Pierce characters, she is technically better than Grave when it comes to supporting the Pierce characters. But the thing is, Grave is better than her in the sense of like Grave does damage, right? And she supports, like Grave supports Pierce characters and does damage, right? So if we were just to go off of nothing but Pierce characters, a Pierce character with Aid is probably going to do more damage, right? But if we were to go in an overall sense, a Pierce character with Grave would do slightly less damage than what they would do with Aid, but Grave herself would do a lot of damage, which kind of makes up for, like, you know, what Aid doesn't offer. Aid doesn't offer damage, Grave does, and then Grave also offers the same type of supports basically that Aid has, just slightly worse. So I think Grave is overall better just because it's a massive damage boost, or I want to say a massive damage loss if you were to use Aid with Pierce characters than Grave with Pierce characters. But I do think Aid, the bunny Aid, or not, yeah, it's a bunny Aid, yeah. The bunny Aid, I keep getting mixed up between Maid and Bunny for Aid because her name is Aid, Maid, Aid, you get what I'm saying? But when it comes to Aid, I feel like she is a top 3 burst 2 in the game. I feel like, okay, well, a solo burst 2, right? Because at the end of the day, I will still have Mast and Anchor over both of those two. I will have Mast and Anchor over Grave and Maid, Grave and Aid any day of the week. I would. But if we're talking about solo burst 2s, I think we have Crown at 1, Grave at 2, Aid at 3, and then probably Mast and Anchor at 4 and 5. But if we're talking about like Mast and Anchor as a duo, how they should be, then I will have Crown at 1, Anchor and Mast at 2, Grave and Aid at 3. I guess you could really alternate. It depends on who you want, but I don't know. I think I have Grave over Aid like all the time, realistically. And then when it comes to Miss Milk here, I am going to put Milk in also. I feel like I want to put Milk in meta, right? And the reason why I'm going to put Milk in meta, it's kind of hard for me not to put her in meta because my whole thing is like Red Hood is meta. And I'm not trying to say Milk is better than Red Hood, but as a burst 3, she is. You get what I'm saying? Like, I get Red Hood is a burst 1, 2, and 3 character, and she has a crazy burst, 1 mechanic, and obviously just her being a burst 2 can be very helpful, especially if like you lose your burst 2. But if we're talking about solely burst 3 characters, Milk is better than Red Hood. I'm not even gonna like lie. I swear I've seen the craziest showcases and I've seen the craziest like stats of like non-built Milks versus built Red Hoods, and everybody has Red Hood fully built, right? But nobody really has Milk fully built. And every time I see like a non-built Milk versus a Red Hood, she's either hitting harder if not on par with Red Hood. How does that make sense? Right? I feel like when it comes to this Pierce team, especially with the Iron characters, you are going to see more of a meta from these characters. I feel like you can honestly see a meta from Aid as well. Because my thing is, I think the new Pierce team is probably going to be Aid, Milk, Red Hood. Like this. Right? But again, it doesn't have to be Aid. It could be Grave. It doesn't have to be Grave. It could be Crown. It doesn't even have to be Crown. It could also be Mast and Anchor, because if I remember correctly, let me go ahead and actually pull up Pride Win real quick. Give me a second. All right, here we go. Let me pull this up on this tab right here. She has distributed damage, right? Milk has distributed damage. And the reason why Milk has distributed damage, or not the reason why, but like the reason why she could work with Mast and Anchor is because they have distributed damage, especially for their buffs. So you can use Milk with any of these characters, but realistically, it's just better to use her with like the piercing characters. I feel like technically you're gonna get the most out of them if you use them with Crown, sure, but it's kind of like a waste of a team. I would never use the monstrous trio with Red Hood and Milk when I have dedicated supports for them, in a sense, right? Well, realistically, I wouldn't say Mast and Anchor are dedicated supports for Milk, but I would say they're up there. I just don't know if it's fair for me to say she's a meta character because she hits harder than Red Hood, because at the end of the day, like my Ein hits harder than my Red Hood. You know what I'm saying? My who else? My Mihara hits harder than my Red Hood. My Asuka, probably not yet, but she probably could hit harder than my Red Hood. Like, Red Hood is not that strong of a character. You know what I mean? When I say not that strong of a character, I'm talking about compared to a lot of other characters. She's very powerful, yes, but compared to a lot of other characters, Red Hood is not that strong of a DPS compared to a lot of other characters, right? I'm not being funny, but I might have like freaking Eve and Raven over Red Hood when it comes to just damage at this point. Nah, that's cap. I don't know. Like, you guys let me know. Do you guys think Red Hood is that powerful still in 2025, 2023 unit? Do you think she's that strong? Like, I know, it's crazy for me to just say, oh, well, because she's a 2023 character, she's not that strong. But you got to remember, her kit is a 2023 kit. I mean, I'm not going to lie. No, it's not. Red Hood's kit till this day is still like a top tier kit. Like, they've made her kit like 2026 kit. Like, I expect it to die off next year guaranteed, right? This next anniversary is gonna kill Red Hood off. I can tell you, I don't even have Red Hood in the top 5 anymore. I don't, right? I think we ever at what, 7 on our list or something like that? Because I have Little Mermaid, Crown, Cinderella, who else do I have over her? I have a lot of Rappy, and even Scarlet Black Shadow. Those are already 5 characters that I have over Red Hood. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like with this next anniversary, we're gonna see Red Hood drop. And I don't like saying this because every time I say these things, I see comments saying, oh, well, this video was clearly just a dedicated hate video. And I'm sorry, it's not me hating. It's just me saying, like, Red Hood is not gonna be #1 forever, right? And I know I shouldn't be talking about her, but it's just because we're talking about Milk, and Milk and Red Hood are kind of like the same in that sense. So you guys let me know. But do you guys think I should have, or do you guys agree that Milk is a meta tier character, or do you guys think Milk is a sub meta character? I feel like I'm gonna put her in sub meta just because my whole thing is she's not going to be the first pick. A meta character are characters who I feel like are going to always be a first pick. When it comes to, you know, maybe Mask and Anchor should also go down, right? Just because like they're not a first pick compared to like Crown. Trina's a first pick when it comes to Scarlet, of course. Dorothy's going to be a first pick for water DPS. Bessie's probably going to be a first pick for any mob clearing stage. Red Hood is going to be a first pick for any Pierce or Iron stage. Cinderella's always going to be a first pick. Little Mermaid is going to be a first pick. Is it crazy for me to put Litter down into sub meta now? Is that crazy of me to do? I feel like if we're going to be looking in the meta tier, I mean, no, because at the end of the day, she is still going to be a first pick to some people. And same thing as D-Killer Wife. And same thing as Rouge. These 4 versus 1 characters are going to be first picks to a lot of people. Right? Like my first pick is always Little Mermaid, but there are people who still have Litter as their first pick. There are people who have Rouge as their first pick because of Cinderella, and there's people who have D-Killer Wife as their first pick because of like the fire team and stuff like that. So I feel like those are fine for first pick. When it comes to Crown, it's really like the only reason why you're not picking Crown is because you don't have her. You know what I'm saying? That's why when it comes to like these 3 here, they're like these 4, I guess, they're second pick. They're only first pick if you don't have her. But if you have Crown is guaranteed first pick. Naga, I feel like is a sub meta character just because of Helm. I don't feel like Naga is up there anymore. I feel like just because of what Helm has done to her, Naga's kind of falling off. Trina's only up here for Scarlet. Anish is kind of slowly falling off in the sense of being a first pick meta character. I feel like we might start seeing her in some meta. But I guess for the electric comp, she is still meta, like in that sense, because who else are you putting on the electric team? You have Rouge, you have Cinderella, but I've seen a lot of people are starting to do like Rouge, Cinderella, Trina, Scarlet, and then that last pick is going to be either Naga or Anise. But that's just thing. And then yeah, but this is the meta tier list I have. I feel like you guys let me know if you guys agree or if you don't agree, but I'm out. Peace.